The message was sent at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, my entire life had started collapsing. I didn't even know it yet. My phone buzzed while I was getting ready for bed. A missed call from my fiancé. Then another. And another. 6 calls in less than 2 minutes. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I called back immediately, but the moment he picked up, I felt it. His silence wasn't normal. It wasn't tired or distracted. It was cold. Controlled. Like he was holding something back. He asked one question. Who is he? My mind went blank. Before I could even respond, another notification popped up. A screenshot. Sent from his number. I opened it. And everything inside me froze. It was a message. A message sent from my number. Saying I had been having a secret affair with my boss for months. My chest tightened as I read it again. The words were detailed. Too detailed. Specific times. Specific places. Things that made it sound real enough to believe. But I never sent it. I never wrote it. My fingers started shaking as I tried to explain, but he wasn't listening the way he used to. Doubt had already entered the conversation, and once that happens, truth sounds weaker than lies. He said he needed space. Then the call ended. Just like that, the wedding we had planned, the future we built, everything started slipping through my hands because of one message I didn't send. But the worst part wasn't the accusation. It was the precision. Whoever wrote that message knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't just want to hurt me. They wanted to destroy me. My reputation. My relationship. My entire life. I sat there staring at my phone, replaying the words, trying to understand how this even happened. No signs of hacking. No unusual activity. Nothing that explained how that message came from my number. Which meant one thing. This wasn't random. This was personal. My mind started running through every possibility, every person who had access to me, to my life, to my trust. And then one name surfaced. Slowly. Uncomfortably. Like a truth I didn't want to face. Earlier that evening, there had been a family dinner. Everything seemed normal. Except for one moment. One small moment I ignored at the time. My sister had picked up my phone. Just for a second. Smiling. Casual. Like it meant nothing. But now that memory felt different. Heavier. Intentional. Because right before she handed it back, she said something I didn't think much about then. A quiet comment. Almost playful. But now it echoed in my mind like a warning I missed. She said some secrets don't stay hidden forever. At the time, I laughed it off. Now, I couldn't breathe. Because deep down, I was starting to realize something terrifying. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a glitch. This was planned. And if I was right, the person who just destroyed my engagement was my own sister. Sleep didn't come that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the message replayed in my head, each word cutting deeper than the last. By morning, the damage had already started spreading. I woke up to more notifications than I could count. Messages from friends. Missed calls from relatives. Even a text from my boss asking if everything was okay. My stomach dropped. This wasn't contained between me and my fiancé anymore. It was out. Circulating. Growing into something bigger than I could control. I opened one of the messages from a close friend. The same screenshot. The same words. But this time with a question attached. Is this true? That question hit harder than the accusation itself. Because once people start asking, doubt has already taken root. I didn't reply. Not yet. I needed to understand what had happened before I tried to explain it. Panic would only make things worse. I grabbed my phone and checked the sent messages. The text was there. Timestamped. 11:47 p.m. Exactly when my world started breaking. But something felt off. The typing style didn't match mine. The tone was calculated. Almost scripted. Like someone had studied how to sound convincing rather than truthful. I checked my call logs, app activity, everything I could think of. Nothing unusual. No unknown logins. No alerts. Which meant whoever did this didn't break in. They used access I had already given. My thoughts went straight back to last night. Family dinner. Laughter. Normal conversations. And my sister. I remembered the exact moment now. She had asked to see a picture from my gallery. Something casual. Something harmless. I handed over my phone without thinking. She had it longer than necessary. Scrolling. Typing. Then she smiled and gave it back. At the time, it meant nothing. Now it meant everything. I stood up, my mind racing through possibilities. There had to be proof. Something she missed. Something she didn't cover. Because if she planned this, she wouldn't expect me to look deeper. And that was her mistake. I opened my message settings and checked the details of the sent text. Delivery logs. Device sync. One detail stood out. The message wasn't typed on my primary keyboard. A secondary input was used. Something external. My heartbeat picked up. Because that meant she didn't just type it. She connected something to my phone. I rushed to my bag, pulling out everything I had used last night. Charger. Earbuds. Small accessories. And then I saw it. Something that didn't belong to me. A small wireless keyboard adapter. Not mine. Not something I had ever used. My hands tightened around it as the realization hit me. She didn't just send a message. She planned this in advance. Brought tools. Created distance between herself and the act. This wasn't jealousy in the moment. This was calculated destruction. But the real question wasn't how she did it anymore. It was why. Because people don't go this far without a reason. And whatever that reason was, it had to be something she wanted to bury. Something she didn't want me to find. I looked back at the adapter in my hand, a new thought forming. If she used this, then somewhere, there had to be a connection log. A trace. Something that could prove she was the one behind it. And if I found that proof, I wouldn't just clear my name. I would expose hers. Completely. And this time, she wouldn't be ready for it. The adapter felt heavier in my hand than it should have. Not because of its size. Because of what it meant. I placed it on the table and stared at it like it might explain everything on its own. But devices don't confess. People do. And I wasn't ready to confront her without something she couldn't twist. I needed proof that would hold. My phone was still connected to the same system it had been last night. That meant one thing. If the adapter had paired with it, there had to be a record somewhere. Not obvious. Not easy to find. But there. I opened the Bluetooth settings. Nothing unusual at first glance. Then I checked saved devices. There it was. An unnamed device. No brand. No label. Just a string of numbers and letters. Last connected at 11:46 p.m. 1 minute before the message was sent. My pulse spiked. That wasn't coincidence. That was a timeline. I tapped on the device details. Limited information. But enough. Connection duration. 2 minutes. Input recognized. Exactly long enough to type and send one message. I took a screenshot immediately, then another from a different angle, making sure nothing could be questioned later. Evidence had to be layered. Solid. Because she wasn't careless. She was deliberate. But something else didn't sit right. If she went through this much effort to frame me, she wouldn't leave the adapter behind by accident. Unless she wanted me to find it. That thought hit harder than anything so far. Because it changed the direction completely. This wasn't just about ruining my relationship. This was about controlling what I did next. I looked back at the device log. Then at the adapter. Then at the timestamp again. 11:46 p.m. The message went out at 11:47. Which meant she stayed connected for 1 extra minute after sending it. Why? I zoomed in on the connection duration. 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Too long for just typing. That meant something else happened during that time. Something I hadn't noticed. Something she didn't expect me to question. I opened my message thread again, this time slower, more focused. Reading every detail. Every word. Every space. And then I saw it. A second message. Not visible in the main thread. Because it had been deleted. But the conversation spacing was off. A gap where something had existed. Something removed quickly. Something not meant to be seen. My breath slowed as the realization settled in. She didn't just send one message. She sent 2. One to destroy me. And one she erased. Which meant whatever was in that second message was dangerous. Not for me. For her. I leaned back, mind racing through possibilities. If I could recover that deleted message, I wouldn't just prove she framed me. I would uncover what she was hiding. And people only hide things when the truth can ruin them. The same way she tried to ruin me. I grabbed my phone again, determination cutting through everything else now. This wasn't about defending myself anymore. This was about turning the entire story around. Because somewhere inside that missing message was the real reason she did all of this. And once I found it, her jealousy wouldn't just be exposed. It would be destroyed. The gap in the message thread refused to leave my mind. It sat there like a missing piece that made everything else unstable. If she deleted a second message, it wasn't random. It was intentional, which meant recovering it wasn't just helpful. It was critical. I opened a backup recovery app one barely used, something I had installed months ago and forgotten about. It scanned silently, pulling fragments from recent activity, deleted texts, cached data, temporary logs. For a few seconds, nothing appeared. Then one line surfaced. Partial. Broken. But enough to stop my breath. The recovered text didn't match the first message at all. It wasn't about an affair. It wasn't even about me. It mentioned money, a transfer, and one name. My fiancé. My hands tightened around the phone as I read it again. The wording was incomplete, but the implication was clear. She had texted him something about money before sending the accusation, and then erased it. Why? That didn't fit her plan. If her goal was to destroy my relationship, why involve money first? Unless that was the real message. The accusation may have been the cover, the emotional distraction, but the deleted message, that was the real move. I stood up, pacing slowly as the pieces started shifting in my head. This wasn't just jealousy. This was strategy. I pulled up my fiancé's contact again, staring at his name like I was seeing it for the first time. Last night, he sounded hurt, confused, but now something felt off about that too. Too controlled, too quick to step back. What if he didn't just receive the accusation? What if he saw the first message? The one about money? My chest tightened. Because that would mean this wasn't just my sister acting alone. That would mean he was part of it. Or at least, aware of it. I scrolled through our chat again, looking for anything unusual. Then I noticed something I had completely missed before. His replies last night. They weren't immediate. There was a delay. A long one. Between the time the message was sent and when he called me. Enough time to read more than one message. Enough time to process something bigger than just betrayal. I grabbed my keys without thinking. I needed answers. Not assumptions. Not theories. Truth. The drive to his place felt longer than usual, every second dragging under the weight of what I might discover. My mind kept replaying the recovered fragment. Money. Transfer. His name. It didn't make sense. But it also didn't feel random. When I reached his building, something immediately felt wrong. His car was already there. But so was another one. A car I recognized instantly. My sister's. Parked right outside. My steps slowed as I approached the entrance, every instinct telling me this moment was about to change everything again. Because if she was here, after everything she had done, then this wasn't over. This was escalating. I reached the door. Voices inside. Low. Tense. Not arguing. Discussing. And in that moment, one terrifying thought locked into place. What if I wasn't walking into a confrontation, but into a truth I was never supposed to hear? I didn't knock. Instinct took over, pushing me forward before doubt could slow me down. The door wasn't fully closed. Just slightly pushed in, like someone hadn't expected interruptions. I stepped inside quietly, every sound sharper than usual. Voices carried from the living room. Clear enough to understand. My sister was speaking. Her tone wasn't emotional. Not angry. Not jealous. Calm. Controlled. Like someone negotiating. She mentioned timing. Said things had to happen fast before I figured anything out. My chest tightened. Then my fiancé responded. And everything inside me froze. Because he wasn't questioning her. He wasn't confused. He was agreeing. His voice carried certainty. He said the message did exactly what it needed to do. That I believed it. That I was already reacting the way they expected. My grip on reality shifted. This wasn't betrayal in pieces anymore. This was coordinated. Planned. Executed together. I stepped closer, staying just out of sight. Every word now felt like a blade cutting through whatever was left of trust. She mentioned the transfer again. Said once everything settled, they would move forward with it. Move forward with it. My mind raced to connect it. The deleted message. The money. His delayed reaction. It wasn't about my relationship. It was about something else entirely. Then she said something that changed everything again. She said I was the only thing standing between them and it. Them. Not just her. Not just him. Both. Together. My breathing slowed, not from calm, but from clarity. I wasn't the target. I was the obstacle. Another silence passed between them, then my fiancé spoke again. He sounded almost relieved. Said once this was done, everything would be easier. No complications. No interference. No me. That was enough. I stepped into the room. No hesitation now. No fear. Just truth. Both of them turned instantly. Shock hit their faces at the same time. Not guilt. Not regret. Shock. Because they didn't expect me to hear this. For a moment, no one spoke. The room held that silence like it was waiting for something to break. I looked at both of them, letting everything settle into place. The message. The lie. The deleted text. The money. It all connected now. This wasn't about ruining my engagement. It was about removing me from something I didn't even know I was part of. And the worst part wasn't that they betrayed me. It was that they worked together to do it. My sister took a step forward, trying to recover control, but I could see it now. The shift. The crack. Because they had planned everything perfectly. Except this moment. Except me standing here, knowing the truth. And now, the game had changed. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was loaded. Neither of them spoke first. They were waiting. Watching me the same way they had planned around me, like I was still predictable. They were wrong. I stepped further into the room, placing my phone on the table without breaking eye contact. Calm on the outside. Everything else locked beneath it. My sister recovered first. She tried to shift the energy, soften the moment, act like this could still be controlled. Said I was misunderstanding. Said I walked in at the wrong time. But her voice didn't match her eyes. Because her eyes were calculating. Still thinking. Still planning. My fiancé stayed quiet longer. Too quiet. Then he spoke, choosing his words carefully. Said this wasn't what it looked like. That line almost made me laugh. Almost. I asked one question. What transfer? The room tightened instantly. They didn't answer. Not directly. My sister stepped in again, trying to redirect, but now I could see the pattern. Every time I moved closer to the truth, she shifted the conversation. Avoidance. Which meant I was getting closer. I picked up my phone and opened the recovered message fragment. Placed it between us. Let the incomplete words sit there like a challenge. Money. Transfer. His name. That was the moment their control cracked. My fiancé looked at the screen, then at my sister. Not confident anymore. Not aligned. Uncertain. Because secrets only work when everyone holds the same version. And now they didn't. I stepped in further, voice steady, asking again. This time slower. This time sharper. What transfer? This time, he answered. Not fully. But enough. He said it was an opportunity. Something that required clean positioning. Something that couldn't include complications. Complications. That word landed harder than anything else. Because now I understood exactly what I had been reduced to. Not a partner. Not a future. An obstacle. My sister tried to interrupt, but he continued. Pressure was breaking his control. Said the deal involved someone from his side. A business connection. Large investment. But there was a condition. No personal ties that could interfere. And that's where I came in. Or rather, where I had to be removed. My chest tightened, but my voice didn't. I asked the final question that had been forming since I walked in. So the message. He didn't look at me when he answered. He looked at her. And that told me everything before he even spoke. He said it was necessary. Clean. Fast. Convincing. My sister didn't deny it this time. She didn't soften it. She owned it. Said I would have found out eventually. Said this was easier. Better for everyone. That was the moment something inside me shifted completely. Not anger. Not sadness. Clarity. Because now there was no confusion left. No doubt. No questions. They didn't just betray me. They calculated my removal. Together. And now that I knew everything, they thought the damage was already done. They thought I had nothing left. But they forgot one thing. I wasn't the only one who could plan. And unlike them, I had nothing left to lose. They expected anger. They expected tears. They expected a reaction they could control. I gave them none of it. Instead, I picked up my phone, locked the screen, and slipped it into my pocket like this moment meant nothing. That alone unsettled them more than anything I could have said. Because silence creates space. And in that space, people start exposing themselves. My sister spoke first again, trying to regain ground. Said I was overthinking. Said this was a temporary situation. Something that would pass once things settled. Temporary. That word echoed in my head, not as reassurance, but as confirmation. They believed this would blow over. They believed I would step aside. I nodded slightly, like I was processing it. Like I was considering their version. My calm shifted the energy again. My fiancé leaned forward a little, watching me more closely now. Trying to read me. He couldn't. I asked one more question. Simple. Who else knows? That changed everything. Neither of them answered immediately. That hesitation was louder than any confession. Because this didn't stay between them. My sister finally responded, but her tone had lost its edge. She said it didn't matter. Said this was contained. Controlled. Contained. Controlled. Those words told me exactly what I needed. This wasn't just a personal plan. It was connected to something bigger. Something structured. I stepped back slightly, creating distance, but not retreating. My mind was already moving ahead of them now, mapping out what came next. Because this wasn't where I would fight. This was where I would learn. My fiancé tried one last time to shift the moment. Said we could talk later. Said things didn't have to end like this. But he didn't say he was wrong. He didn't say it wasn't real. That was enough. I turned toward the door, not rushing, not hesitating. Just walking out like I had already decided something they didn't understand yet. Behind me, I could feel it. Their confusion. Their uncertainty. Because I didn't react the way they planned for. And when a plan breaks, everything built on it starts to shake. I stepped outside, the air hitting differently now. Clearer. Sharper. Like I had just walked out of something heavy and into something dangerous. Because now I knew the truth. But more importantly, I knew their weakness. They relied on control. On secrecy. On me staying exactly where they placed me. But now I was outside of that. And that changed the entire game. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message from my fiancé. Short. Careful. Trying to regain connection. I didn't open it. Not yet. Because I wasn't ready to respond. I was ready to plan. They thought removing me solved their problem. They thought the story ended with me stepping out of their way. But they made one critical mistake. They showed me everything before it was finished. And now, I knew exactly where to hit back. I didn't go home. Not yet. Because this wasn't the moment to break. This was the moment to build. I sat in my car, replaying every word, every reaction, every crack I had seen in them. The plan they created depended on silence, speed, and control. I had just taken all three away. My phone was still in my hand. I finally opened his message. It wasn't an apology. It was strategy. He said we should keep things calm. Avoid drama. Handle this privately. That told me everything. He was scared. Not of losing me. Of exposure. I opened my notes and started connecting the pieces. The recovered message. The transfer. The condition about personal ties. This wasn't just a random deal. This was financial. Legal. Traceable. And people who operate like that always leave a trail. Always. I went back to the recovered fragment and zoomed in again. This time I noticed something I had missed before. A partial account reference. Just a few numbers. But enough to start somewhere. That was all I needed. I reached out to someone I trusted. Not a friend. Not family. Someone who worked in compliance. Someone who understood financial systems better than emotions. I kept it simple. Sent the fragment. Asked one question. Does this mean anything? The reply came faster than I expected. Yes. Followed by another message. This is linked to a restricted transfer channel. My heartbeat slowed. Not from fear. From certainty. Restricted meant monitored. Monitored meant records. Records meant proof. Everything they thought was hidden wasn't. They just assumed no one would look. That was their biggest mistake. I stepped out of the car, feeling something shift completely inside me. The confusion was gone. The hurt had transformed into something sharper. Control. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was directing. The next step wasn't confrontation. It was exposure. By the next morning, everything was in motion. Reports flagged. Internal alerts triggered. The kind of attention they could never talk their way out of. Quiet. Official. Unstoppable. My phone rang again. This time it was my sister. Then him. Then both. Calls. Messages. Panic building on the other side. But I didn't answer. Because for the first time, they didn't control the situation. I did. Hours later, the truth started surfacing exactly where it mattered. Financial irregularities. Unauthorized coordination. Conflict of interest. Not rumors. Facts. Careers didn't just crack. They collapsed. By evening, another message came through. Not from them. From someone involved in that deal. Short. Direct. They have been removed. I read it once. Then locked my phone. No satisfaction. No celebration. Just clarity. They tried to erase me from their path. Instead, they exposed themselves completely. And in the end, it wasn't their plan that destroyed me. It was the truth that destroyed them. Because jealousy can create a lie. But truth always finds a way to end it. Subscribe to this channel if you like this story. Also tell me in the comments that where are you watching this story from and what time is there on your side. See you in the next one.